right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I am your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else and what I would like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Holly Quinn. Holly, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Greg. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. You're one of my favorite people.
Likewise, likewise. We didn't rehearse that, by the way. That's the facts. That's the facts. So I just want to start into the series of questions, Holly,
Sure.
just like we always do with each titan, to get everybody to know you a little bit better, your background, your business, and you as a person. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born, in a humble little hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
My dad was in the oil industry, which took us down to Houston, Texas, which is where I really considered that I grew up.
Right.
Went to college there, have a background there in marketing and design. But then when I was living in Central Texas, got introduced to this amazingly handsome Army captain on a blind date. And we met, and I said, that's the man I'm going to marry.
Love it.
It took him another year or so to figure out that I was the one he was going to marry.
Okay, he took a little longer. That's all right.
He still does. He's a very, a little bit more cautious. I kind of throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
So followed my military husband around for 20-something years. Lived all over, lots of moves. Raised 4 kids in the process.
Hey.
We now have 4 kids, 2 in-laws, a beautiful grandson, Walter, who really is the light of my life.
Love it.
And here we are.
Okay, that's awesome, and that's a big background. And in going into, the business portion. Oh, that was some crazy lightning here. This is live, everybody. So going into your background as far as real estate is concerned, what is the process for that, and what got you into the business? How you started out?
So it was really kind of a fluke.
Okay.
We were stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, in El Paso.
Wow.
4 times. We did not retire there. And the thunder and lightning out here is just because Greg's got such a great big personality.
That's right.
That, he brings the weather with him. So we were living in El Paso, Texas, and we had bought our first home together.
Okay.
And we came down on orders to Fort Leavenworth, and we're like, well, we love this house, which, we want to live in this house forever, but we didn't know what to do with it. And so we said, well, let's rent it out. And that started kind of the empire, not really an empire, but that started the process of becoming real estate investors. We decided then that, it was a good thing to do to invest in rental properties, and we manage them ourselves always. And 1 grew into 2, 2 grew into 3, 3 grew into 5.
Wow.
And at the same time, way before Chip and JoJo, there was Matt and Holly.
The original gangsters here,
That's right.
that was there.
On a really small level. But we also were discovering, Matt just was along for the ride, and God bless him, because he always is like, you want to do what? Okay.
He's such a good guy.
He is a good guy,
He really
and
is.
I don't know why he puts up with me. But, when we buy those rental properties, sometimes that were just kind of total dumps and really needed a lot of work, but they were in great locations.
Okay.
We would renovate. And so then we kind of started flipping, and one renovation led into another, and all of that, to make it a short story long,
Sure.
really becoming investors, renovations, house flipping. It really just made a good natural progression. Like, I loved the buying and selling portion.
Okay.
I've never gotten sick of looking at houses, which I know a lot of realtors in residential are like, oh my God,
Sure.
another 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But I love it. Like, there's nothing, I go in every house and I think, look what this could be. And, I can tell you almost down to the penny what it costs to take down a wall, or to, redo a bathroom, or to, paint or redo siding or do a roof. And so that to me is a really fun challenge. And here I am.
Right, which I think is a huge, progression into it, and a lot of value that a lot of professionals and consumers that you work with get. I mean, you have the background of moving and understanding what the pain points of that are, right?
Yes.
You do have that military tie, which is huge, ingrained into you, which a lot of people get in this community in Colorado Springs. But then you also have the investor side, which it's not just at the end of the day, here's a house to live in.
Right.
You look at it from a dollars and cents and a potential investment standpoint. So
Right.
that's huge value add. But then you're also an interior guru as far as I'm concerned, Holly. I mean, you have a really good eye when it comes to what's going on in the space and the visuals and all that stuff too. So I think that that's a lot, at least just from my information.
Oh,
So
thanks. So it's kind of funny, you know, my daughter, who is just getting ready to start her sophomore year in college, has just her eye for design is amazing. If she doesn't do something in design, then, you know, it'll be a sad state for our world. But like, she can come in and she can say, you know, oh, you need to put these flowers on top of these two books and it'll look great. I don't do that. I walk into a space and I'm like the Rain Man of walls.
I love that.
Like, I walk in and
Yes.
I literally see what it would look like with the wall down, or adding a window, or, you know, replacing a regular slider with French doors, or, you know, raising roof lines or whatever.
Sure.
In fact, you haven't seen it yet because you were busy having a baby.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yes.
Olivia, she's
Yes.
adorable.
Thank you.
But we actually, Matt and I just bought our biggest project, which is a 7,200 square foot luxury home.
Love it.
That, you know, our budget for that is like $100,000 in renovations. But,
Love it.
you know, I walked in and immediately I'm like, and we're going to take down this wall and we're going to do this. And he goes, oh my God, like, what are you thinking? But, you know, that's kind of how my brain works. So.
Well, and you know that luxury market very well too, Holly. So that's a whole nother, you know, vein that we can go into as far as real estate and your background for sure. But let me segue into the next question, which happens to be, what's your why, Holly? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you do what you do to the level you do it at?
You know, that is a great question, and if you know the answer, you know, let me know. I don't know. It's almost, it's like, some people are driven like doctors. You know, they
Sure.
know from a time they're 4 years old that they want to get inside somebody's chest and, you know, pump their heart, or do something in their brain, or you know, fix whatever.
Right.
There is a drive, and it comes from, you know, my heart,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like, I get up every day and I can't wait to talk to clients. I can't wait to meet with people. I can't wait to get my paint deck from Sherwin-Williams.
It's all
You know,
there.
like, I carry these things with me forever. Like, meeting with my contractors is such a fun thing. But
Sure.
there's just something there that's like, you've got to do it. You know, and it was a lot of people don't know this, but military families, which my husband, you know, is retired now, everybody thinks that they have this really great retirement package. Well, they do, but, you know, if something happens to Matt, I don't get his retirement.
Ah.
And so a few years ago, when, you know, you realize that you are middle-aged, or, you know,
Sure.
a couple of years ago, we went, oh my gosh, we're only like 15 years from retirement. And I started thinking, what happens if something happens to Matt? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to our family and our legacy? I mean, yes, we have life insurance and things like that,
Sure.
but it was this mental thought of, I also need to contribute, and we need to, although we do have, you know, retirement plans and stuff, but you know, we need to be working more to be putting away for a rainy day, and
Right.
you know, the kids are grown now, so I'm not needed as much at home, so here I am.
Which is fair, and I think that a part of that is the burning desire and the wanting to give, and really to do the best you possibly can with your clients and for your clients, and just the overall love of real estate. I mean, I think that's a part of that, and I think the passion is very, very hard to take away. To be truly successful, and again, what I consider you as a Titan is having the passion and having the drive and the fire to really make a difference and impact. That's what you do, Holly. So I think
Aw.
that everybody gets that. Anybody who knows you knows that's the facts. So, okay, that's a good share for that. But let's go into some data, some information for some of the other professionals that might be watching, whether you're new or seasoned. If you could take a look at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you might have added that took your business from one level to the next. What does that look like for you in your business?
Honestly, one of the best thing that I ever did was change the way that I thought about real estate or my career in general.
Okay.
And it used to be all about, I want to add to our financial bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put away as much as I can. I want to be the best realtor in our community.
Sure.
And I want to make as much money as I can. I mean, come on, who starts their career and goes, I only want to make $10 an hour?
Right.
Nobody. But somewhere along the line, a switch was flipped,
Mm-hmm.
and it became less about that and more about meeting people and building relationships and always doing what's best for my clients, who most of them now are friends. And when I switched from it's all about the money to it is all about the people, interestingly, my success level, went up 100 times.
Unbelievable. And you think about that, something as simple as that mindset, right? And I get what you're saying, and a lot of producers will understand this too. Money is made in this industry, no doubt. But when you really look at it from the giving standpoint, the serving standpoint, you work hard, you do right by people, you know your product, the money's going to be there.
Yes.
And as you said, that's a huge change and shift. So if more people just thought of it this way, to really do the best job, to really help their clients and serve to the highest level, the money will be there. And again, not every real estate professional is created equal.
No.
They're not all in that mindset. So I think that's a huge huge takeaway for everybody out there. So hopefully you took that down. That's big advice. So let's go into a slightly different question. This is the tough one. This ends up being the challenge question.
Okay.
So if you could look back on your life and pick or choose a challenge that you dealt with, that you overcame, that you were stronger because of it after the outcome, what does that look like for you, Holly? Because we all have challenges we deal with in our lives, big or small, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future, but it's more so how we overcome them. So what's your challenge you'd like to share?
Sure. So I can almost pinpoint this to the day
Okay.
of when this happened. So 7 years ago, and I'll tell you why everything kind of changed. Before this date, 7 years ago, I was still in the wealth building. We have to do what we can. We have 4 kids. We've got to get through college.
Right.
I got to make as much as I can. 7 years ago, I went to the doctor because I had been having severe indigestion, and it's kind of a weird way that this happened. But
Sure.
I actually was training for a marathon, and I had a really bad treadmill accident.
Okay.
Think George Jetson, right? Like I went flying off this treadmill, and I grabbed the side of it, and I ended up separating my bicep and all 4 tendons.
Ooh.
Well,
Golly.
the result of that was, at the same time, I'd been having really bad indigestion, but
Okay.
I was seeing military doctors, and kind of the answer for a lot of healthcare is, here's some Benadryl, here's a Motrin,
Right.
here's a Band-Aid. Well, I finally ended up having to have an MRI, and I kept calling to get the results, and my military physician was deployed, and I'm like, well, who can give me these results?
Right.
And I was so frustrated, I went down to the military treatment facility, grabbed my records, and started seeing a civilian doctor. And so the first day of seeing the civilian doctor about my shoulder, she said, Dr. Julesen, she's amazing, she's also a military wife, she said, well, you're here, is there anything else that you want to address? And I go, God, I've had this indigestion for a long time,
Okay.
what are you doing for it? Taking Prilosec or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, anything else? And I said, well, I'm middle-aged, I've got some back pain, I'm kind of bloated, I'm tired all the time.
Sure.
And I was a lot heavier because I've lost a lot of weight since then. And she said, well, I'm going to send you to the gastroenterologist because I come from on my dad's side, anybody who has died as far back as they can go back has died of cancer. Except for accidental death.
Okay.
So she said, you've got a really strong history of cancer. We're just going to get you in and make sure you don't have a hernia or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in to see this gastroenterologist,
Okay.
and he said, we're going to do a CAT scan. And I remember saying to him, don't you think that's a little extreme?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we're just going to make sure nothing's going on. So I went in and had a CAT scan again, the first of about 85 million. And I had a call, within about 2 hours and said, you have a mass on your left ovary. So at that point, we didn't know what it was, but
Sure.
I went to start seeing a gynecological oncologist,
Okay.
Dr. Picard. He's really awesome here, and kudos and God bless to all oncologists. And I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. So 7 years ago, because I went in to get my shoulder looked at, I found out I had cancer.
Sure.
So that was that was a real turning point in my life and going through treatment, and I'm 6.5 years clean.
That's huge. That's
and,
great.
For women, ovarian cancer is a very deadly cancer. So, ladies, if you're watching, what you want to be looking for is pain in your back, bloating, cramping, indigestion, change in urination frequency, change in bowel habits.
Wow.
If you've got those, get them checked out. So
Okay.
Thank you for my public service.
Listen to Holly. She knows.
So, but it's interesting because that was a real catalyst. As I sat, on my couch for months on end because I didn't have any energy and didn't feel well.
Right.
I kept wondering, why me?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I get this? And I really clearly heard this voice, and I'm a devout Catholic, and so I believe it was, the voice of God was saying, why not you? And so then I think everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
And there's a learning experience in everything. And so from that it was, what's your purpose? But it really changed everything because I realized that, and truly, and I mean this sincerely, having cancer was a gift. It is one of the, next to my husband and my kids, cancer is the biggest blessing I've had.
Unreal.
Because I'm on this side of the dirt.
Sure.
So it's all good. But that is when things really change too. Your life is so short, and it truly is a gift, and be happy and don't sweat the little stuff.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge.
Yeah, and that's a huge share, Holly, and that's not easy to do, so I appreciate you, letting everybody know kind of what you've dealt with, and I think that the big message, as you said, is life is short. We all have challenges that we deal with, and look at that as an opportunity for you to take some positive nature out of that. And again, I know that we all have issues that we deal with, but just know that somebody has it worse. Just try to be as positive in any situation, and just keep moving forward, keep going, because you overcame that and you kept moving, and look at where you're at now. So I think that's a big takeaway for everybody for sure. So.
And except for heights, not much else scares me.
There you go. So there's some other fear in there too, right?
A little neurotic.
But thank you, Holly, because that's a big one too. So I know a lot of people are going to appreciate that, and that's going to touch a lot of hearts. People are watching this. So let's go to a slightly softer question,
Okay.
not as deep in here for everybody out there. So if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, and it could be any stage of your life, it could be little Holly all the way up to a year ago,
Yeah.
what piece of advice or two would you give to yourself?
Honestly, if I could go back and change anything, it would be don't sweat the little stuff. Like if it's not life or death, does it matter? So sometimes you can say, is what I'm doing right now, is this going to make a difference tomorrow? Is it going to make a difference in a week? Is it going to make a difference in a year? And if the answer is no, let it go. Be like Elsa and let it go.
That's good. And I could play the track in the background here. We could sing that together. Put positive nature out there, do the right thing, and it'll happen.
Well, and in real estate, I see so many different agents that they butt heads over the smallest detail. Like, well, we're going to terminate if we can't get smoke detectors put in, or
Right.
Something small. You can get packs of 12 on Amazon for like $100. So don't worry about it. Don't terminate a contract over $100. Don't just work together. And I think so many times as agents, we forget that we're all working for the common good. I want to protect my client, you want to protect yours,
Right.
but the goal is to get to the end of the transaction, get to the closing table.
So true. Everybody wins that way.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a great piece of advice, not just for young Holly, but for everybody out there that's watching. I think that's a really, really good take to heart. So let's go into the feeding of the mind question. So a lot of the viewers that are on the show and constantly supporting it, they want to know what these top producers, these titans, are feeding their mind, whether it's in the past or currently. So what books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media, what does that look like for you?
Oh gosh, well, there's always Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
Jack Cotton, who is, we actually were at the same conference with him at the NAR, the National Association of Realtors.
That was great.
So Jack Cotton is this amazing luxury realtor, up on the East Coast. Like he does like the, $200 million properties. But he's got some really great books out selling luxury homes. I don't know if you can see that.
If you can't see it, I'm going to put the link in the comments.
Selling luxury homes is a good one because that's kind of my niche is luxury.
Right.
And even though I'm with RE/MAX, I have to say Gary Keller's The One Thing was was really one of those books. Like I bought it for all the folks that are on my team and that work with me because it's really all about, and it doesn't even really have to be about real estate, but it's like, what is that one thing?
Sure.
What is the thing that motivates you, that gets you out of bed? The other thing is, I wake up really early. This morning, sadly, at like 3:30, not by choice. My dog, my puppy was
early.
Puppy was crying. But before I get out of bed in the morning, Matt, who is a saint, we all know Saint Matt.
Saint Matt.
Saint Matt makes coffee every morning and brings it to me in bed before he leaves for work. And he still works for the government. He's still, he retired, but he's civil service still. So he does that. I stick on my glasses because I'm blind as a bat, and I pull up my iPad and I watch Goldcast every morning, and it's all about whatever it is for the day. But it kind of motivates me to get up and be a better person. And it's that, like kind of like going to church. It's not that you are a bad person, but you need that reminder to.
Sure.
For me, I need a reminder like, hey, go do good things.
Love it. No, and that's great. And there's so many different facets in there that you're feeding your mind from different areas and angles, whether it's, watching it or reading it and that sort of thing. And I think that the common denominator with all the Titans is they are constantly feeding their minds and growing. So hopefully everybody takes some of that. I'm going to put the links in the comments down below so you can feed your mind the same way that Holly is feeding hers. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Then I'll give you my shrinks.
I'll list that down below too. So last but not least, Holly, and this has been an amazing episode, chock full of great information. I know everybody's taken. So to wrap this whole thing up, if you could sum up yourself as an individual, as a brand, if there's a quote you live by or a mantra, what does that look like for Holly Quinn?
So when I was sick, I watched a whole lot of television, and I mean a whole lot of television, just because you can't focus a lot.
Sure.
And The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, great movies.
Oh yeah.
Well, in Shawshank Redemption, there is a quote that Morgan Freeman says that it's kind of my mantra.
Okay.
And it's, you can get busy living or you can get busy dying.
Wow.
So get busy living.
That's a big one, and I can imagine Morgan Freeman's voice saying that.
That's right.
It's even that much cooler. But I that's a really, really good one, and both those movies are really, really great. I mean, I'm a movie nut and buff, so I think that's really good stuff. And I think that a lot of people can really understand that and resonate with that. We get in our own ways. I mean, we set the boundaries and expectations on our own lives, so just get busy. Get busy living,
Get busy living.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Holly, and I think that sums you up beautifully. So,
thank you.
Thanks again for being on the show. You are official real estate titan in my book.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. So everybody, thanks so much for your time and attention. Really appreciate all your love and support. As always, every Tuesday and Friday afternoons, a different titan, a different location, and we'll catch you guys in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Thank you.